What's up, fungal associates? Welcome to Completely Arbortrary. It's the podcast about trees and other related topics. Happy 2025. Wow.
We made it, Alex. It's
Here we are.
2025.
That's right. I'm Alex Crowson, one of your hosts. And of course, we have...
Me. I'm Casey. It's a new year. New presidency is about to start.
Let's not talk about that shit. Are you fucking kidding me?
I like to start the year off with the newest news, Alex.
No.
This is how I always go about it.
You know the more important thing happening on January 20th? It's
What?
my birthday.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you.
Inauguration day. I never put that together, actually, until just now.
Yeah, it's something I struggle with every year.
Every year, Alex, do you know that it's only Inauguration Day every 4 years?
I know. That's what makes it such a struggle.
Every 8 years, too. That's fair. You struggle with the case. So you're just like, oh, another 3 years.
Yeah.
All right, I see. Okay.
It's a marker of time. Anyway.
I hate this.
I think we should literally change the subject.
All right, Alex, how are you? It's been a new year.
Yeah.
We've got through the holidays. We got through our vacation. I don't know if that's the term.
Can I just say, it was a bit of a staycation for me,
Yeah.
but can I just say that we have not recorded an episode in like a month? A little
more than a month, actually.
Yeah.
The last one we did was sometime end of November.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah,
We
we
did it.
pre-recorded a little bit because I wanted to take the month of December off, and like an idiot, I didn't edit any of these episodes until I don't know, a few days before they were coming out.
Hey,
So
it's pretty much off.
I mostly took the month of December off, but it was really nice, and I'm I'm happy to be back, but also I just can't wait for the next one.
Oh, I totally know. Absolutely. It's not that we don't love talking to you guys and doing this all the time, but you know what? Doing zero work better than doing work.
This has always been my stance.
You haven't flip-flopped on that? Not even once?
No, I am very anti-work, Casey.
Okay,
Unless
this
you
is very fair.
love, what you're doing, like a creative project. I'm pro-creative project, anti-work.
Say no more.
Well, should we jump into it, Casey?
Yeah, might as well. Let's jump into our creative process here.
Here we go. Today, we're talking about a tree called Florida Torreya.
That is right.
Let me give my initial impressions here.
Yeah, okay.
Florida flower or the state, but I've been burned before.
Yeah.
Where I think it's the state, and it's like, no, that's a flower. It means flower.
Yeah.
Torreya, I've heard of like Tory pine. So I'm assuming that this is in the Tory, is that also like a political group, the Tories?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it's the conservative group in England. Maybe
Okay,
I don't know. It's either
yeah.
conservative or liberal. I honestly don't pay attention to those politics either.
But yeah, Torreya, I don't know, Tory, but then probably a person.
It is, yes. Torreya is he's an old botanist guy. So ended up so what you were thinking, Tory pines, also named after the same thing. So all of this is a kind of tree. Now, I think I should approach each of these first. This is from the state of Florida. It is not. You made a reference to the eastern flowering dogwood, which is Cornus Florida.
Yeah.
Meaning flowering cornus.
So this is literally Florida.
Yes.
Torreya.
Precisely.
Okay.
So Torreya is a name of a conifer, and we have covered one of these before, which is what they call the Chinese nutmeg.
Oh, yeah.
So that is Torreya grandis. This is Torreya taxifolia, which means it is the yew-like leaved Torreya.
In Florida.
In Florida.
Well, fantastic.
There are layers upon layers, Alex.
A nice, simple approach to the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about this Florida Torreya just for you right after a quick break. We will be right back with Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back to Completely Arbortrary. Today we're talking Florida Torreya. To me, that feels like the scientific name, but it's not. The scientific name is Torreya flora grandis.
No, taxifolia.
Taxifolia.
So close. Flora grandis, big flower big. Yeah, I like
is that not a thing? That's right, the yew-like, needle-like leaves.
Yeah, exactly. And that is, there's a couple other fun names for this one, which I thought we might talk about. Florida nutmeg tree, because the fruit looks kind of like a nutmeg. We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Stinking cedar is another one.
Stinking cedar?
Yeah, it's just a little. It sounds like, I don't know, almost like a derogatory, like someone just walked by and like got tripped or poked their eye.
Sure.
It's like, yeah, that stinking cedar.
We don't need no stinking cedars.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't like that one very much.
It's okay.
Yeah, it's just barely there. The other one is, I think, my favorite, but it doesn't mean anything to me, so I don't know why I don't use it. Gopher wood.
That's right.
Which is fun.
It answers the phone. It's like, gopher wood.
I didn't put that together. Yeah, thanks, Alex. I really appreciate that. I guess I read it, and so I was just like, yeah, gopher.
Yeah.
And then that was it. So, Alex, let's get down to brass tacks here.
All right.
I think we should talk about this tree.
Okay, let's do it.
Now, you're usually, whenever we get to this stage, you usually say, let's imagine, as we do every week. And I want to know where you imagine we are.
Wow.
And I don't want you just to say Florida.
Fuck. Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Let's see if you can get this, because you will either be right or you will be 100% wrong.
Well, let's imagine, as we do every episode, Casey.
Okay. All right.
That you and I are taking a stroll through Malaysia.
Oh, Alex, you're absolutely wrong.
I thought if I said it confidently enough.
You would convince me? Yeah, maybe. Let me tell you where we are.
Yeah, please.
We are between 50 and 100 feet elevation along either a river bluff, a slope, or a moist ravine on the east side.
A moist ravine, you say?
A very moist ravine. Along the east side, and only along the east side, of the Apalachicola River, and only about a 20-mile stretch of it.
This was my second guess.
Florida. Okay. I figured that was right on the top of your tongue. It's either this or it's somewhere in Malaysia.
Or next to a wet ravine.
Yeah.
In the Coca-Cola Mountains.
In the Coca-Cola Mountains of northern Florida. They're filled with sugar.
They're next to the Big Rock Candy Mountains.
They are. They're right next to it. You just keep looking. You're going to get there.
So from what you're saying, I gather that this is an extremely endemic tree.
You are perfectly, exactly right.
I like these ones that are just like, they grow on this one rock.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
yeah, that's it. This is considered by some to be the world's most endangered conifer.
Wow.
And not just like rare, but endangered.
Okay.
So the Torrey pine and some other cypresses are considered the most rare, as in like there's very few of them, or their native habitat is extremely small, but they're not necessarily like dying or going out of business or anything like that. Like they're still doing fine.
They're thriving. There's just a few of them.
Exactly.
This is a terminal tree.
Yeah, we get to talk about it. It's very interesting, but it's just so curious to me that it's not like a casual like, this tree's endemic to these mountains in California, and moving on. It's like, okay, endemic to the mountains of California. That seems like pretty broad.
Sure.
This, between 50 and 100 feet elevation, in this one particular river system, only on the east side.
That's wild.
And only for 20 miles.
Oh my God.
That is
really endemic.
It's really endemic, and it's in the same Georgia area. Well, not quite the same area as the Franklinia. And you remember the Franklinia? They found it along the Altamaha River, and it was just this one, like not even grove. I think they found, hey, here's a plant or two, and then it was gone by 1803. Oh. So like that is the tree that we covered when we did Extinct in the Wild.
Bold of you to assume that I remember this.
Oh, now notice how, Alex, I gave you all the facts and then said, remember those facts? This is called teamwork, buddy. This is how we do it.
I sabotage myself.
So this, I think, as we will get to in a little bit, is a similar kind of situation.
Okay.
Where these and many other plants came down to this area, and this is the only place that they exist now.
I
did.
I bet I know what happened. I won't spoil it.
All right.
I'm pretty sure I'm right.
Well, before we get to that, let's talk about what this tree looks like.
All right.
So you may recall, and again, Alex, let me give you these facts and then say yes.
Okay.
You may recall that we did the Chinese nutmeg.
I do know that we did it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So essentially, this is one of 6 species of Torreya across the entire world.
Wow.
And they are conifers, and these are actually particularly dioecious evergreen conifers. They grow to about 60 feet tall, 18 meters, about 30 inches in diameter, which is about 80 centimeters in diameter. So, pretty good size, but not like massive. They have your kind of standard run-of-the-mill bark. It's smooth, but a little bit rough every now and then. And it has these kind of irregular longitudinal cracks that grow up it. And it's brown, not quite utility. It's a little fancier than utility bark, but there's nothing that's going to be like outstanding about it.
It's kind of utility plus.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Utility plus is a great description.
Honestly, I don't mind it. I think because it's like conifer bark.
Yeah.
I always feel like broadleaf or non-conifer flowering tree bark that's utility is way uglier than utility conifer bark.
It's an interesting perspective.
I'll take utility conifer bark if that's all you got. That's fine. I don't mind drinking well.
I don't mind drinking well, says the sober guy. Jeez.
Just it's an analogy.
Yeah, I think I agree with you on that. Like it does have like its bare minimum is better than bare minimum of others. Okay,
I think so.
I'm with you.
That might be our conifer bias.
I think that is. I mean, certainly. I think I'm good with that.
Yeah.
But now the thing that I think really is unique, and the reason why it's fun to know that there are 6 different species, has more to do with the foliage and the twigs and how they all kind of come off and at what angle.
Okay.
So it is an evergreen, needle-like, linear-leaved plant.
Linear leaved.
Yes. So when people say you have like needle leaves, well, there are needle leaves, I say in quotes, that are flattened, that appear for all intents and purposes like very flat, thin, like smashed needles. And that is what we would call linear rather than needle-like. I'll give you another kind of counter example.
Interesting.
Take a pine tree.
Got it.
Like they have, let's say, the bundle of 2, and you have these 2 sides. Those are more or less 2 semicircles.
Yeah.
Where if you put them together, they create a whole circle. They are most of the time still that roundedness on one side and kind of flat on the other.
Sure.
But they're very small. They look like needles. Like you can usually spin them in your fingers and that kind of thing. Same thing with spruce. Most spruces, they're triangular or square, so you can roll them in your fingers.
So you're saying these are flat, like 3D wise.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
So you wouldn't take one and roll it in your fingers. It would be like blocky in your fingers and wouldn't really roll.
Exactly. Your fingers would just move over the top and move over the bottom.
I see.
Because they are wide, like maybe a, I don't know, 0.5 millimeter or more wide if you measure the width. But if you measure the thickness, it would be like less than 1 millimeter.
Okay.
And then the length would be about 1 inch or so.
Okay.
So these are what we call linear. They're also pectinate, which you may recall is like the tines of a comb. So they come off left and right very specifically.
Where does that come from etymologically?
That's a good question. I don't think I've looked that up.
I might do a little Googling while you keep talking about
okay.
history.
Yeah, I think this sounds great.
Pectinate, you said.
Pectinate, yes. It's all very, very phonetic in that regard. Now, the thing is, they are oppositely branched, usually, and their branches move off horizontally at 40 to 60 degrees from the main twig. Now, what's important about this is that if you were looking at the other 5 species, they will have differences either in that angle where they come off, so it could be between 40 and 80, or it could be between 30 and 60. So just a little bit different angle in terms of how the twigs come off of the main stem. But also, their leaves either have these very obvious stomatal lines on the bottom, or their stomatal lines are kind of diffused. There are wide gaps on the outside of the leaves and in between the stomatal lines, or there are very skinny gaps, and the edges of the leaves are revolute, so they roll over ever so slightly.
Ooh.
Some do, some don't. So kind of take a mixture of these different characteristics, the angle, the amount of stomata the borders around the stomata and if the leaves themselves are perfectly flat or if they kind of droop a little bit or a lot. All those things put together, including the margins, and you get yourself an answer. So you can actually look at each one of these and say, okay, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. Just like that.
Interesting. It's in the leaves.
It's all in the leaves. Okay. Now, of course, you can also see the one that's growing in the wilds in California and say, the California Torreya. See the one that's growing in Florida and say, well, this is the Florida one. So on and so forth. But once you get to Southeast Asia, you actually get a little more complicated because there's 4 species over there that kind of grow all within relative locations, but you could find them planted certainly around each other.
Very interesting.
Did you find something about pectinate?
I did.
Tell us, what do we got here?
All right, so pectinate comes from the Latin pectin, which means comb.
Oh, okay, there you go. So it is comb-like is what it means.
There is a little bit more to this, though, Casey.
Alex.
Not much more. There's actually not that much more to
it. Great, nice, okay, cool.
Well, the big thing, because I know pectin as like something you put in jam.
Yeah, it's like a fruit bit. Yeah. Or it's
so
a thickening agent, I think.
That is actually a polysaccharide found in plant cell walls. So my idea there is that like maybe the structure of the cells, it's like the lines in between the cells.
Yeah.
Is like a comb potentially. That's my sort of homegrown theory.
We're gonna send you home with some homework. You got to figure this out and let us know for our next episode.
Somebody is rolling their eyes so hard.
No, someone is looking at their dial, hopefully, in that they're like, okay, there's going to be an answer. And now they didn't get it, Alex, which means we have to provide it for them.
I gave an answer.
Oh, no, but you said they're all homegrown.
Yeah, well, the theories are, but
a
pectin.
Oh, okay,
is
sorry.
Latin for comb.
All right. Back to this tree, Alex. Back to this tree.
I have another update.
Oh, tell me.
The comb, the pectin thing. The connection between pectin that we use in jams and pectin, Latin for comb, is that it's a binding or gathering agent in the way that a comb gathers fibers.
Really?
Yes.
So this is also comb in like a different version of like a hair comb.
Sure, yeah.
But that straightens out your hair fibers.
Yeah.
This is more like the comb that combs things and combs through stuff.
Potentially, yeah.
Huh. Mm-hmm. All right. I approve of this.
Cool.
Oh, well, etymology for you.
Moving on.
Alex, this is a conifer, as we have stated.
It's got to have a cone.
It does not. It has a strange cone-like structure, which is great. Now, you remember the nutmeg, the Chinese nutmeg. It looks like a nutmeg. It looks like they have this strange plum-like fruit that has a big seed in the middle.
Yes.
And that is what they eat over from that tree in Southeast Asia.
I remember it being very fig-like.
Yes, yeah, it looks exactly right. So this is a very similar thing. It is technically called a diaspore. Yes, and this is a term I learned. It's actually kind of a broad term for a fruit.
Okay.
But in a technical sense, a fruit is a mature ovary, which is only from those ovary flowering producing plants, right? Flower producing plants. So technically, we shouldn't say a fruit of this tree or any other tree that is a conifer. You can't technically say that, right? And if we're looking at the most technical way.
Sure.
So a diaspore is a very large term, kind of encompasses it all.
For cones. For cones and fruit.
For cones and
Any
fruit.
seed-containing vessel.
Precisely. Okay. And then technically it cones like a strobili or strobulus, that kind of thing.
Okay, gotcha.
But in this case, yeah, and like where do you put a ginkgo, right? A ginkgo seed with its seed coat is a diaspore in this case.
Okay, great.
And on top of that, that's a very great transition to talk about exactly what the heck is on the outside of this, because I needed to figure it out.
Wow.
We didn't, I don't believe, talk about it on our Chinese nutmeg episode.
Okay.
But the outside, we told you, was an aril. And I stand by that.
Yes.
So an aril is holding the large seed that's in the inside. And that seed is just one seed The Arl comes from the top and kind of wraps around at the end of the day.
Almost like a firm net or something.
Isn't
it kind of full of holes?
No, that on true nutmeg.
That's nutmeg.
Yes,
okay.
that is it, and that ends up being the spice we call mace.
That's right. Yeah.
But in this case, not being a true nutmeg, the Arl is just the outside that gives it the look of a fig.
Okay.
And it's usually a dark kind of green, blackish to purplish color with these long streaks. When it matures, it smells like a pine or a fir, like it has terpenes in it. Like it's very much a conifer smelling, citrusy smelled thing.
Interesting.
But that little outside Arl, it's technically an Arl because it starts more at the top. And if we are giving it an official, how did that happen? Where did it come from? It's actually modified cone scales or cone bracts.
Okay.
That then became fleshy, like the yews and like the junipers, the totara, and all the rest of those podocarps.
This is another thing that's yew-like.
Exactly. So they are in that family, so that makes sense. So the thing about it, though, is that some people call it a sarcotesta.
Sarcotesta.
So I had to learn what a sarcotesta was.
Sure.
Sarcotesta is the same thing. It's a fleshy seed coat, but explicitly comes from the entire outside of the seed, like a ginkgo. So that is the seed coat becomes fleshy. That is a sarcotesta.
Okay.
And I learned that there is a big controversy about an Arl versus sarcotesta in pomegranates.
This does not surprise me.
You might look for that on an extra episode here coming up pretty
Oh,
soon.
wow.
We haven't talked about the ye old pomegranate in years.
One that Casey will be recording alone.
I just talked to myself in a mirror. It's kind of nice.
Oh my God, that'd be hilarious.
Anyway, so this is an Arl, technically speaking, that grows on the outside of this cone-bearing, I should say seed-bearing structure.
Yes.
It is not a sarcotesta because it comes from a particular place, not from the entire thing in and of itself.
Good.
It's the end of my podcast.
Oh, I think I think the show's done.
See you guys. You know, everyone, I'm sorry. That was a horrible, mean joke.
I don't know if it was mean, but Casey, would it be it would actually be the greatest gift you've ever given me.
Free time.
Would now be a good time to talk about one of the interesting names of this tree?
Yes. Yeah, I think this would be a perfect time because after this, we're going back in time.
I was going to say it felt like we came to a nice, subtle, natural end, but it was like hitting a brick wall.
It was, and I sometimes like it. It feels really good.
I love hitting a brick wall. It's so fun.
Well, tell me, because you did a little research, right?
I know I just made fun of you for getting really deep into this this Arl business. I glazed over a bit.
Thank you.
But I got randomly hooked on the idea that this tree was called the gopher wood.
Yeah. Why? Yeah. That I think it's worth getting lost on because I don't understand it at all. That's one of those things where I was like, I'm just gonna go look elsewhere.
Casey, this name has biblical implications.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you.
How?
Let me read you a little. I should have brought my oversized suit. I'm about to preach.
You should have.
In King James, no less. Here is a quote from God.
Okay.
From Genesis 6:14 in the King James Bible specifically. Make thee an ark of gopher wood.
Make thee an ark of gopher wood.
Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch.
Okay. Does that make sense? It makes it waterproof.
I'm going to read you that same passage.
Okay.
Genesis 6:14 for those who want to read along. From New International Version.
Okay, of the Bible.
Okay. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood.
Oh.
Make rooms in it and coat it with pitch inside and out.
Okay.
Much more readable.
Yeah, certainly. That's a nice update, I have to admit.
But they did change from gopher to cypress.
From gopher to cypress.
Right. So there are a few different scholastic theories here.
Yeah. How do you get those two put together?
One is that a gopher wood would be like a specific tree that they would have called the gopher wood, right? Probably like a cypress.
Yeah.
Another theory is that it was like a gopher wood was like a treatment. Like this is wood untreated. This is gopher wood, which means that we like did,
and like gophers aren't going to get it or chew it or something.
Like, we put it in a kiln to dry it out or something.
How weird.
Some shit like that.
Huh.
Another, in my third final theory, not mine, is that gopher is like a construction method. So specific cuts and joints. It's like gopher made,
I see.
Where that word comes from in those definitions, no idea.
Yeah, we'll have to do more work on that. But we can't do so many etymological things in one episode.
Can't we?
Okay, anyway, so that's fascinating.
So gopher wood is like just a Bible reference.
Yeah, so there could be other trees that we also call gopher wood somehow.
Totally, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so that's gopher wood. Casey, gopher wood.
All right. So this tree is something that we've talked about many different times and for many different species, which is one of my favorite things in nature, I think. In fact, this has two of my favorite things in nature, all kind of combined. One is a glacial relict. You remember what this means?
Yeah.
Good.
Basically, there's a tree growing somewhere.
Okay.
A glacier moves in over a few thousand years or whatever.
Sure.
The tree can no longer hang at its usual spot, so it moves elsewhere.
Yeah, things got too hot, so to speak.
And then the glacier goes away.
Yeah.
And that tree is now in this new spot, like, well, I guess this is my home now.
Yes.
And it's something about like it's like the perfect spot where it's like it can't go any more south because it's too warm, but it like can't go north.
Yeah.
Because of the limitations of a tree.
Now that is our topic right there.
Wow.
For this tree.
Oh, I did great.
You did great.
I deserve a treat.
So that's the thing, Alex. So a glacial relic is exactly that. It's a tree that moved south with the glaciers and migrated the whole population. And then as the glaciers retreated, the rest of the forest kind of moved back up. And as I put it, like a bunch of beatniks hitchhiking to Woodstock.
Oh, wow.
They're like, the glaciers retreated, you hear? Let's go. And then they all went back north and found all their old haunts and started to hang out again. So this happened multiple different times in the past. And this kind of whole forest ecosystem, and specifically North America, it used to be in the high Appalachian Mountains. Then the glaciers came down from the north, and they also were on top of the mountain. So at high elevations, there were glaciers that started to cover the tops of mountains, kind of moved down. The way you see it here in the Rockies and the West Coast and our very tall, big mountains. So over there, that kind of forced all of the trees and plants, including the mosses, including the earthworms, as you learned a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
All of these things were pushed down into the south. Then as the glaciers retreated, the things started moving back north, and they moved back up the slopes. So as they did that, then they reestablished their old populations. But some didn't go back up. That is what makes them a relic, is that they move down, but often these relic populations are called disjunct populations.
Okay.
Because they actually did have a significant amount of their population move back north and find their old haunts and reestablish a population there. However, they left, a group down somewhere because that was still a perfectly fine place to live.
Sure. If it ain't broke.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. Exactly. But most of the time, the weather also changes so that you have different climatic conditions. So all these trees are more or less adapted to a set of climatic conditions. As those conditions kind of shift in terms of their location, so does the population. So if the conditions in the south change, then it's no longer appropriate for that species. And that is what we're dealing with here, except the Florida Torreya never sent any new delegates back up into the mountains.
That's why it's so endemic.
It's why it is so endemic just along the Apalachicola River.
Wow.
And this is a little hot spot, in fact. So there's a bunch of very small herbaceous plants that are down there that grow nowhere else. There's at least one other tree, which is the Florida yew, that is also still down there.
Interesting.
Yeah, they grow on the same exact slopes in the same exact spot next to the same exact river.
And these are all endemic?
These are all endemic. These two species endemic to this one teeny tiny little section of the Apalachicola River.
I'm assuming you're going to tell us why.
Alex, I would love to tell you why.
Why that little swath of land?
Nobody quite knows.
Oh, of course.
They do
That's
have...
always the answer. God damn it.
I know.
I hate this podcast.
And honestly, this is even more interesting because a book that in fact was recommended to me, or to us, I should say, by Eric Himes, which is kind of the whole reason we're even doing this. So thank you, Eric Himes.
Shout out to Eric.
This book is called Ghosts of Evolution by Connie Barlow.
Oh.
And it's all about essentially ecological anachronisms, but on a far bigger scale than anything I've read before, because she wrote this book to encompass all different kinds of plants and things that clearly have some kind of anachronism, which talk about all the things that formed their current kind of morphology and characteristics, like the Osage orange, but are no longer here. So we have to figure out what exactly happened and why.
Sounds like a fun book.
Yeah, honestly, it does, and I'm excited to kind of dive into it. I read just a couple little bits from talking about the Florida Torreya specifically.
Okay.
And one thing that she brought up is that it is very likely that there is some disperser that has kept this tree in its current location.
A disperser among us.
Yes, there's a disperser. Well, actually, Alex, there isn't a disperser among us.
That's what makes him so terrifying.
Exactly. We don't know where it's at.
He's in the walls.
Yeah. This is, so you remember, we've talked about ecological anachronisms a few different times.
One of my favorite, combinations of words to say.
It is, right? Once you, figure out how to say it.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to figure out how to read the word anachronism and put the right emphasis in the right places.
It's so good.
Yeah. So
and how does it relate to spiders? That's what I want to know.
Oh.
You know,
I've
heard of anachrophobia.
You're afraid of old things?
Yeah.
I love that. Well, it turns out that there are some theories because this is a species of plant that has been around for 165 million years.
Wow.
It is an old plant. This whole genus used to be across the entire northern hemisphere.
Oh, wow.
And now there are just a few left. Certainly in the United States or in North America, we just have the two.
Yeah.
So one thing that they have thought about is that this plant moved down over a period of time, probably somewhere within the last 0.5 to 1.5 million years ago.
Okay.
So over the last about 450,000 years, so just about half a million years. There has been something like 4 or 5 glacial cycles. So a glacial cycle, right now we're in between a glacial minimum and a glacial maximum.
Interesting.
So glacial maximum was about 20,000 years ago, and that is when the glaciers were at their full extent. Everything was as cold as it was going to get.
Sure.
And then it started to warm back up.
Okay.
So over the last between 20,000 and 11,000 or so years ago, they started really pulling back, and now all the trees and plants have moved forward. Worms have not even had time to get back up north of that area. So we know that there are still things that are making this migration slowly but surely.
Where is you said we're in the middle.
Yeah.
Where is the most southern glacier?
Honestly, like Greenland. It's all those glaciers way up there. Because remember, 50 million years ago, there was essentially tropical wonderland. I know you do. It's a bit fuzzy, but I know you remember. Back then, we had trees all the way up, like Don Redwood growing in the Arctic Circle.
Sure, okay.
And all sorts of other plants.
So that would be a min.
That's a min.
Okay.
So imagine that's where we could be going right now.
Hey.
Will we? Who knows?
Cool.
No, more like hot.
Okay. You want to take that again?
No, I don't, Alex. That was perfect. So it turns out that right now we're on our way. We're kind of in between a glacial maximum and minimum.
Got it.
But there has been, like I said, within the last about 500,000 years, there's been multiple 4 or 5 different cycles, this tree is unlikely to have made the move backwards and forwards in probably any of them.
Okay.
So they moved down.
So many opportunities.
So why didn't they go back up? All their homies did. All of the other plants, except for a very spare few, made the move back up. And now they are in the southern Appalachian Mountains, and they are the Great Smoky Mountains and all the flora and fauna that's in there. So one of the big questions is, well, hey, look at this gigantic fruit that almost nothing eats.
Sure.
Perhaps there was some disperser who died out in one of these kind of areas or one of these times and just has not been there to move the plant back up.
Perhaps the same giant sloths that were chomping down Osage oranges.
Yes, precisely. Who knows? No one's quite sure.
Interesting.
Now, so here is the interesting kind of crux to this, where this tree, we know, lived further north. We have planted them all the way up to, I think, like Pennsylvania and the Arnold Arboretum in Boston, and they're doing fine. They're putting out a bunch of seeds.
Great.
In their native habitat, and I say native habitat because that's where they're native right now today, they are dying hand over fist.
Okay.
It's getting probably too hot, but they're definitely stressed, and they all are getting the disease called Fusarium torreana or torreinae, something like that.
Wow.
So it's this canker disease.
You know when they named the disease after you,
yes.
that's bad news.
It's really bad, yeah. It's brand new. No one's ever heard of it. Only you have it. This is Fusarium alexcrosonii. It's kind of your deal, dude. Yeah, it's exactly it. So it's like really bad. They're almost dying. Like there's no more big stems at all. They're all little sprouts.
Wow.
They come up, then they die. They're producing no more seed down there.
Gosh.
And it's already a teeny tiny little spot.
Yeah.
And so now they're like critically endangered. They're super protected. I couldn't even find a cone probably down there. A cone, I should say. Even if I wanted to collect it, it's like so hyper endangered that it would be horrific of me to even go find the one little seed that's down there.
Yeah, wow.
So that is kind of the situation that these trees are in now. So everyone's like, yeah, these trees missed the boat. They missed like more than a few boats.
Yeah.
And so what's happening? We can blame it on this. How do we respond is the next question. And that is the thing that is very curious. So what do we do about it, Alex? What have people decided to do? And this becomes kind of this big crux, and I want to get your opinion on it.
Okay.
So the idea is assisted migration.
Sure.
And we've talked a little bit about this, or we've like hit on the subject a little bit, but the idea is we know that this tree used to grow up here. For whatever reason, it missed the boats and now it's no longer growing up there. We know it still can because we plant it. So all the signs are there saying this tree's native habitat is now in North Carolina, is now in Pennsylvania, is now further north where it used to be, and it just never quite made it up there.
Sure.
So people are now suggesting, why don't we do that ourselves? Why don't we take different seeds from these further north places and let's plant with the intention that they will create a naturalized stand, a new population outside of its, quote, native habitat.
Artificial insemination.
It is. That's a perfect way to describe it. Yeah, in fact, I love that. That's perfect. So the thing, though, that is like very curious about this is on one side, that's just invasive species. You're just taking a non-native species and planting it in an exotic location, hoping that it establishes and naturalizes.
Yeah.
So one hand, that's that. The other hand is, we should not be playing the hand of God here. God determined that the gopher wood should stay right where it is, and that is life. It shall die because that's the natural order of things. We shouldn't put our thumb on the scale necessarily.
Interesting.
Even though we have in like so many other goddamn ways.
Wow.
Don't get me started.
We choose when to put our thumb on the scale.
Yeah, exactly. So on the other hand, this would be the best way to save an endangered species.
Those two things are in one hand.
Those are the first two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a full hand. What is the positive?
The positive
I want you to be like, this is a high school debate club.
Ah, okay.
They force you to say that abortion is bad.
Okay. All right. Let me think of this. The positive is you save a species that is on the brink of extinction, and I mean like on the brink of extinction, certainly in the wild, you save that species from going away forever. The other positive is you theoretically introduce another component to a forest ecosystem that used to be there but is not anymore for, likely, who knows what reason, honestly. I'm not even going to necessarily jump into that. So you're saving something and you're adding an ingredient back into the mix that used to be there, creating a more richer forest.
Okay.
There's one opportunity. That's the positive. The negative is mostly we don't know how this is gonna turn out.
Yeah.
We could be putting an invasive species in that's just gonna take over, throw things out of balance, and cause trouble.
Here's my take. This might be harsh.
Go for it.
Please don't hate me.
I'm not gonna hate you. It's gonna be okay.
I actually am kind of thinking, just let it go.
Just let it go, Alex. That's fine. What's your reason for this argument?
Well, I don't know. I guess if people are doing enough research, then most things are okay to do, right? But like the invasive species, like what if? Well, we don't know. Plant it up there. What if it's like a super dominator and kills everything?
Yeah.
Or just like doesn't play nice with the rest of the ecosystem.
That's a big question.
A bunch of other species suffer.
Yeah. What if it muscles out some other species, right?
Exactly. And if you just let it kind of like wither and die, then only one species suffers.
Yeah. Interesting. So now this is minimizing the suffering.
Yeah. Huh. And I'm also not really one of these people who are like save the forest mountain northern guppy because it's really important. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like,
okay.
Okay. It's just dying naturally. It's not being like farmed to death, Like I kind of, maybe this makes me a bad person. I really don't think it does, but I'm like, this is nature, baby. Like things come and go so fast. I will feel this same way when it happens to humans, by the way.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
not biased.
Fine caveat. Well,
I think that's just that's nature, and just like that, let nature takes its course.
Now, see, here's an interesting thing. This seems to put you on the side of humans are a part of nature. So even if it's something that we cause directly or indirectly, we, being a part of this world, are a force of nature in a literal sense.
Did we cause this?
It's very likely that we have a lot to do with it. The species was thriving, and I mean like thriving, before 1950. After 1950, it started to decline precipitously.
Okay.
Funny enough, we also ramped up our use of fossil fuels around the same exact time. So we ended up getting a lot more carbon dioxide, climate change. We've had hotter temperatures down in southern Florida. We also have this new canker disease that has come in. No one's quite sure where it came from. We're not sure if it came from another species or if it was native to China or somewhere else, and we just haven't. Those species were able to handle it. It just came out of nowhere, and now it is fully destroying these trees. So
I will say, that's your opinion.
All right, man. All right, we'll go find your carpet. So it could be. I am not sure that I'm quite there. I think that we should move it. I think we should push this tree and say, yeah, let it go. Because
why not?
We have done this. We have destroyed ecosystems and moved plants in and said, now you are growing here. We've done it for our own selves. So one of the big things that whenever people talk about the idea of assisted migration, it usually comes with how can we move this southern timber species a little bit further north because we know that it's going to get too hot and the conditions are going to be bad in the south. So we are doing what's called tree improvement to move important species around.
Well, important as in to industry?
To industry, to us, to humans. So wheat is a great example. Corn is a great example.
But the Florida Torreya isn't important to industry, right? So it's really
correct.
A passion project that these guardians are, which I'm kind of in favor of.
Now you've switched your side. There you go.
I'm a little. By the way, Casey wanted this segment to last 5 minutes.
It's been like 7, maybe.
No, that's great. Okay. That's fine. But I'm saying if we really dived into it,
oh yeah,
I feel like we could be here for the rest of the.
Hey, well, maybe we'll have to do that real fast, but you'll have to join Tremium to hear it.
No,
I was just like, absolutely not
happening.
Go talk to the mirror, Casey.
But yeah, I think I guess where I land is I don't know.
Okay, that's very fair.
I'll trust people who know what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I did read, again, in actually Connie Barlow's book when I was perusing through, she said that we need to learn, rather, we need to embrace the care of different species, even if they provide nothing to us.
Totally.
And her idea with that is historically, before colonists came over and the native peoples were living much closer to the land than, we've come through and destroyed the culture and really put a lot of pressure on them to join our culture forcefully most of the time. But if we go back, let's just go back straight 1,000 years. People were intimately involved with moving plants around for whatever reason. And slowly but surely, we have destroyed their ecosystems and we've killed their animal dispersers and their buddies and taken away habitat. So we are creating a situation where many plants, in fact, have to be dependent on us in order for them to survive.
This is an abusive relationship.
It absolutely is. And so her argument is, we need to embrace taking care of all of these other plants because we've destroyed everything or we've caused the conditions where they are no longer able to do it themselves.
That's great. I love that opinion.
All right.
It's mine now. I mean, we can share it.
Can I share? Okay, thanks, Al. I appreciate it.
That's interesting, Case.
Yeah.
I like this tree, and I'm that will be reflected in my score.
Okay, this is great. I appreciate also that we've gone in a big spiral with your ideas. Yeah. All right, here's how I feel. All right, I feel differently now. Okay, now I'm on your side. Now that's my opinion. Get out of the way.
Isn't it? It's a hell being in my brain.
It's just the worst.
But we got to give this tree a score after a quick break. We'll be right back with Completely Arbortrary. Welcome back.
Hello.
To Completely Arbortrary. That was our discussion of the Florida Torreya. It's time to give this tree a rating. Casey, here's how it works. We're going to give some final thoughts on it and then give it a rating of 0 to 10 golden cones of honor. You heard that right. As our resident expert, I will say, our most anachronistic expert.
That is fair. I still refuse to use ChatGPT. I'm a bit of a Luddite. I like to type using Dragon. Isn't that what is that? Dragon. You remember it was like a speech to text thing from 10 years ago?
You just summoned that from the deep recesses of my memory. Let's begin with you, Case.
Oh, right. So I actually have grown to really like these funny little trees, mostly because I like that they're rare. I like that they seem to be kind of two different things. They're the kind of snowbirds almost, at least this species in particular. It kind of goes down to Arizona when it gets too cold, then goes back. Sure. And it seems like whatever happened, it kind of was down here, it's wearing its winter coat, still being oh, yeah, I'm just sweating to death because everything sucks in Florida. I really want to move back north. I don't know. I just kind of like it because you can plant this Florida species in Pennsylvania, in Boston, Massachusetts, and it does fine.
It just remembers.
It just does.
It walks in and goes, Chewy, we're home.
It does. It says that, whatever that means. And I just think that is I don't know, it's endearing to me because I can plant it probably here in Oregon and I bet you it would grow.
Sure.
And otherwise, I just think that these are interesting old species that kind of show off what the world used to be like around here. I don't know, let's go back 500,000 years and see exactly where they were, but also what else was there with them doing all these crazy things.
Cool.
So it makes me I think they're endeared, and specifically this one, because it's it's on its way out. It is on its deathbed. And I'm kind of you are pretty cool. Pat it on its back just so it
falls
keels over. Yeah. So I think I'm going to give this little guy, I think in terms of a tree, it's fine. I do love a superlative, as you know. And this one being the world's most endangered tree.
Sure.
It's kind of a good
Still
one.
Counts.
Still counts. So I'm going to give it a 7.8.9.
Great.
That is my score for this lovely, lovely, curious tree. And I am just so sad that when I went into Apalachicola State Forest, or National Forest, years ago, I never even knew about this tree. I never even thought about it.
Oh, yeah.
I was literally on its doorstep and didn't go to see it.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it is.
That's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
It is, because they might all be dead by the time I get over there again.
Yeah.
Whoops.
All right. What did you say? 7.8.9. 0.8.9. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. A little pity with that last 0.9.
Sure.
Unless I see a big one in Pennsylvania, which is apparently where the biggest one is.
In Pennsylvania.
Yeah, in Pennsylvania.
See
or
what
North
happens
Carolina.
when you bring these sickly trees into a place that they can actually hang. Florida Torreya. I think it has a lot going for it for me. I Googled over here. Encino Man. Remember that movie?
No.
With Brendan Fraser.
Okay.
And the disgraced Pauly Shore. And Encino Man is about a man who went to sleep or something and got trapped in a what do you call those? Land icebergs? A glacier.
Oh, okay.
And then the glacier thawed, and this man came back to life.
Okay,
it's a comedy.
I feel like I do remember this.
And he goes to a high school in Southern California and has a bodacious time doing it.
Rock on, man.
And everybody loves him. He instantly becomes like a popular guy.
Well, he is Brendan Fraser, after all.
That's true. He's a hunk. And he's just like laissez-faire, like, well, I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
It's just instantly likable. And that's kind of how I feel about the Florida Torreya.
Interesting.
I'm like, you are from a different time. You're not doing so hot right now. But look what happens when we put you in Pennsylvania. You're so big and tall and strong.
Yeah, you're doing great.
Yeah, you're a popular guy. And then it has this whole organization devoted to, like, I'm sure nobody's getting paid to, like, bring it back to life and save it from the brink of starvation.
Yeah, no, in fact, I think they have a lot of protesters because I think a lot of people are like, we don't believe in this.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Maybe not a lot, but it's a controversial idea. This idea of assisted migration.
Yeah, it's like a little cult.
Alex, he's going back now. Oh God, he's cycling around.
Yeah. So I don't know. I love any ecological anachronism.
Yeah.
I didn't even care about the Osage orange until you told me that giant sloths used to eat them, and I was like, all right, I love them now.
That's the way you hook everyone. Everyone loves a giant sloth.
Anytime you introduce megafauna, I'm like, all right, I love this tree. So I think it has a big problem, this tree, and that is its name. You and I have this project software we use. It's management software where we write all of the recordings, what we're going to do. And we can look ahead and see, list of all the recordings and the dates associated with them. And I saw Florida Torreya, and I was like, I'm already bored.
Oh, no.
That sounds so boring. What is the Florida Torreya? What is that?
Okay.
It's not telling me anything.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. Also, yeah, I don't like it because it's named after a person.
Yes,
Torreya.
that's right.
I'm like, give it an actual name.
I think it needs a rebrand.
Okay.
And that may come up on a later bonus episode when we talk about renaming nature.
Okay, yeah.
But it needs a rebrand because it's much more interesting and cool than it seems. Having said that, I'm going to give this 7.25.
7.25, another 7.25.
Which is actually pretty good.
That is really good. That's way better than I thought.
If you listen to the show, you would know that's pretty good.
Yeah, you would know.
All right. Well, Casey, that was the Florida Torreya.
What a good treat, man. I really want to get a couple of those planted. I think there might be some at Hoyt Arboretum. I'm going to look.
Do it.
I'm going to look.
Do it on your own time.
What? I don't get paid for this? I'm not doing that.
Casey, it's time for our completely arbitrary AMA, but it's also time for a game, huh? What?
Huh?
How does that work?
How does that work?
That's so interesting. Our question this week turned into a game idea.
No way!
And this one's from Leslie.
All right.
Now, it's a little out of date because it's about the holidays.
Oh,
but
I've heard of these.
Leslie said, "Dearest Alex and Casey, it's been the holidays, and I am sick of talking to people about their cats." First of all, why? What are your best segues to get to trees and tree-related topics? Hugs and kisses, Leslie. So I thought, that's great. I love that idea of answering that question.
Yeah.
Let's make a little bit of a game out of it.
I love this. Thank you, Leslie.
So let's imagine that I am... I'm your uncle.
Okay.
Who doesn't even know what you do.
Yeah,
What's a podcast? Right. And also trees are like trees are lumber. I don't know. My floor is made of lumber.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you are you. I rolled my eyes in a weird way. I didn't mean to. Casey saw it too. I saw you see it.
Yeah, it's great though. I thought it was funny. You are you.
A pain in my ass. And you're talking at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And,
okay.
And I'm gonna start my story. So my boss, he likes to go fly fishing, and I'm trying to relate to him a little bit. So I bought all this fucking fly fishing gear that I haven't gone. So I keep just watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Of fly fishing, and but I try to. Here, let me explain the game to you. So,
yeah, okay. Am I supposed to cut you off?
Yeah.
All right.
So
let me just stop you right there. So you're doing fly fishing. That's really cool. Got a lot of friends that do a lot of fly fishing.
Cool.
Now you may not know this, but did you know that way back when we used to cut down or we used to clear out all of the rivers in the forest? You've been to some rivers. You say you haven't gone out. You've gone out a few times, right?
I've had picnics at the river.
Well, see, here's the thing. We used to manage trees in a different way, all the forests and all the different stuff. Well, essentially, we were like, oh, this river's like completely chock full of logs, and we would clean them all out.
Sure.
So the water would go smoother and quicker and look, quote, nicer. But here's the thing, Unc. It actually turns out that is like the worst thing for fish. So if you go out fishing, look for places that have like a bunch of beautiful trees that have just fallen and completely covered the stream, created really complex little riffles and pools and ponds and things, because that's where the fish go. So just in case you're ever out there wondering, like, where's a good spot? Look for a log or two and then throw your fly right on top of that. Yeah, it turns out forestry, the way we used to do it, it was just so completely just backwards compared to what we actually know science is today.
Listen, I know you're my sister's kid, but you interrupted me, and it was really rude.
All right, sorry. God dang it.
All right, Casey, nice one.
Thank you, Alex.
By the way, we're doing this so out of order, but this game is called Trees and Other Related Conversations.
Yeah, so that's how I do it. Just I'm going to take away the veil here real fast.
Oh, wow.
What I try to do whenever I talk about trees or I want to change the subject to something I know a little bit about is just try to relate it. Like you said, trees and other related conversation.
That's right.
Find that way that you can segue it in just to say, did you know that thing that you do is related to trees in this way?
Yeah.
And all you got to do is work from where they are, find where trees come in, and then just follow that loop back to the other thing.
I often when I'm talking to friends and they bring something up, it'll be like a trigger. Like, they say a word that I'm like, oh wait, we talked about it on the podcast, and then like I just can't help myself. Those things are really the stuff, Like I'll start talking about trees.
All right,
it'll be like a sleeper agent, like I get the code word.
All right, let me give you an opportunity.
All right,
I'm your aunt, and I'm talking about putting together this pie.
Okay, what's your name?
Cheryl.
Okay, hi, Cheryl.
Hey, Alex. It's so good to see you again.
Thanks.
Happy holidays. Oh my God, has it been a year? Look at you.
Hi, Cheryl.
So anyway, I need your help putting together this pie. This is a pear pie, and I want it to be sweet, but I just don't really understand how people make these pears so delicious and sweet. Like, what do I do?
Well, you need to add sugar.
Okay. That's it?
I would say like C&H, the pink package. That's pretty good sugar.
Those are pretty good. I think we got that. Hold on, let me go look. Okay.
Well, some varieties, let me think. Yeah, go ahead and keep talking, Aunt Cheryl.
All right, well, I got the sugar now. Now, let me just tell you. So right now, I'm using an Asian pear because they were on sale at the grocery store. And so I was like, great, I'm just going to use these pears. But, like, they just are completely different. Like, I don't know why. I'm just using pears to make a pear pie. My nephew.
I want to pause. Say that I'm being baited.
You are not being baited
into saying that Asian pears aren't sweet and delicious.
That is not what I'm saying at all, Alex.
Casey's a Loki figure on this podcast. He's a trickster god.
I am a trickster god. No, I just thought of pears right off the top of my head.
That's fine. Listen, if you're using an Asian pear to bake pie, that might work, but you want to maybe go for something like a little more fleshy.
Huh?
Asian pears are sort of an interesting kind of take on pears, a little more crispy. Which I think makes them delicious.
I'm sure. I like them too, Aunt Cheryl says.
But you may want to use something like a Bosque.
What? Isn't a pear a pear?
Not only a bounty hunter in Star Wars, but a type of pear.
So a pear is not a pear. This is what I'm learning. I thought they were all essentially the same.
Oh, no, Aunt Cheryl, you fool. There are so many varieties of pear, just as there are many varieties of apples.
What?
And many varieties of people.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So get your ass back to the grocery store.
Get your ass back to the grocery store. Alex, you did such a good job.
All right.
I was trying to bait you into telling us about how pears are cultivated.
Oh, sure. I don't know much about that.
Oh, well, it's the same as all the others.
Sure. Grafting?
Yeah.
All right. All right, my turn. Listen, I gotta take you into my craft room.
Oh.
Because I got this new paper cutter I'm so excited about.
What?
That's awesome. It's really sharp. Mm-hmm. It's a nice hand guard, so I'm not in any danger of cutting myself.
That's great.
But I use it for scrapbooking mostly.
Yeah. Okay.
There's some great memories in there. Do you want to see my scrapbook?
Yeah, I would love to see your scrapbook.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, what's interesting about this? I have a scrapbook. Excuse me. Sorry. Said some eggnog. Actually, I have a whole scrapbook. Or I'm trying to make one that is showing all these different kinds of trees and species and like how to identify them. So it's kind of like a scrapbook / tree ID book or like tree notebook. Okay. You know what I mean? So yeah. So how do you set these up? Because this is how I would imagine doing this with like a picture of the cone, a picture of the flower, a picture of the bark, that kind of thing.
Well, I'm more interested in bowling.
Ah, okay, all right.
So I have like my favorite bowlers.
Interesting.
Couple picture of balls, bowling balls.
Bowling balls. Yeah. I don't want to see your smutty.
Oh, come on. Look at my balls.
Okay. All right. I'm getting out of here. This is why I don't go to family things anymore. Hey, see, that's how you do it. And then this is the other next behind the veil. They're really stoked about talking about how to craft. You just say, how do I craft with trees?
There you go.
And then they're stoked to explain to you, oh, well, here's what you're going to do. Like, what's your setup? How do you want that to look? And then you can relate. Okay. One thing, though.
You're introducing your hobby sneakily into their hobby, like sneaking pills into your dog's food. Just
you've got it. Yeah, this is why whenever I talk about trees, I always give someone cheese first and afterwards.
Hey, you know what that rhymes with? Trees.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you. I realized that as I said it and kind of panicked for a second. But the one thing, you have to be earnest. People can tell if you're bullshitting them. Don't do that.
Yeah.
So if you're actually curious, I'm like, oh, yeah, cool, that's great.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, be real.
I feel it's hard for neurodivergent people to fake enthusiasm while listening to something they're not. I mean, you know this.
Yeah, sure.
I often tell you, I'm not interested in this anymore.
Okay, thanks, Alex. Okay.
But that's a good. I think like being interested in somebody else's hobby and like comparing it to your hobby.
Yeah.
Trees, it's a good way to get a little conversation going.
Yeah, exactly. Now you guys aren't really talking about trees or scrapbooking. You're talking about design.
There you go.
Now you're actually elevating the conversation to something you guys can both relate to, just apply differently.
I think it's your turn.
Okay.
I have a character for you.
Please. Oh, that would be so helpful, actually.
Okay. Well, I have a lot of I play in a couple bands. And I always dread. Maybe I shouldn't dread this and it would be more enjoyable, but I dread showing up to the venue. You meet the other band that's opening or you're opening for them or whatever.
Okay.
And you have to talk and you have to like make a little conversation before while you're setting up. And it's like, how often can I talk about my fucking guitar pedals?
Yeah.
You know.
Oh man, what's up, dude?
Hey.
I'm a drummer from this other band. We're called the Giants of Earth.
That's good.
Yeah,
I'm Alex.
You. Hey, it's good to meet you. I'm Bash.
Hey, Bash.
Yeah, it's Bash.
Bash?
Yeah, thanks. That was
What did I say?
You just said it poorly.
Oh, Bash.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Just call me. You can just call me Bash.
It's a cool venue, huh?
Yeah, it is a cool venue. What kind of pedals are you using?
Oh.
To be honest, I'm a drummer. Mine are just they just hit the drum.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Kick pedals.
Yeah. So but this is a cool venue. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a pretty good venue. I forget which one of us was supposed to introduce the topic of trees.
Yeah,
me.
Funny, dude. Cool.
Bash. Hey, there's actually a drummer Pokemon. Do you like Pokemon?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but here's the fun twist.
Pokemon.
He's also a tree.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
How is that possible? Why do you know this?
Well, I've got this podcast.
What?
And that's the end of the conversation.
Podcasts are super cool. All right. So what'd you do there? What was your method?
I was desperately looking for the first thing that reminded me of a tree.
Okay, all right, that works.
And it happened to be your drummer. You're kicking pedals. I could have also gone, I don't know, what kind of wood are your drums made out of? That would be good.
See, that would be a great way to go about it. Ask about that, and I would say, oh, it's made out of maple.
Yeah.
They'd be like, nice. Did you know that's probably a Norway maple?
Yeah, there you go.
And then you can be able to like, wait, what?
That's
How
perfect.
do you know that?
That's perfect.
And you can chat all about it.
Nice.
And then you can, of course, say, yeah, well, the reason I know this is because I run a podcast all about trees.
Here's another one. You can apply that to guitarists and bassists. Maybe bassists maybe a little less so, but guitarists certainly.
They're just aloof, or not aloof. Let's not talk about bassists.
Bassists don't know anything about basses.
Alex, what instrument did you learn to play first?
All right.
Great work, everyone.
Well, we hope that gave you some ideas on how to handle difficult conversations.
Oh, man. I hope that everyone's listening just cringing, thinking about, like, that's not what I would say. You're idiots.
You know what? If you got something better, fucking email it to us. If you want to ask us a question, you can become a Treemium member. And it is a great time to do so. Beginning of the year, you can buy yourself an annual membership, and that would be really cool. That happens at arbortrarypod.supercast.com, ARBORTRARY pod.supercast.com, and join the over 700 people
strong
who support this podcast every month. And what do they get in return? That's a really good question. They get ad-free listening.
That's right.
They get bonus audio and video content. We just put out an episode with Justin Davies.
Yeah, the
woodworker
famous
Justin Davies. You can also get 20% off the merch store at all times.
That's right.
And
access to all of our previous stickers. If you're in the Cone Club, that is, in particular.
The Cone Club, the pride and joy of Completely Arbortrary. We send you monthly cone stickers illustrated by independent artists in an envelope licked by Casey Clapp.
And so if you get in there, we also give you access to all of the previous month's cones, all the way back to February 2021.
Wow.
We got a lot of cones, and every single one of them is for sale on our hidden site.
Has it been that long?
It has been that long. In fact, starting next month, Alex, is our 4th year anniversary.
Wow.
That's right.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm. Actually, I should say the Cone Club's 4th year anniversary. Yesterday was January 6th. The day that they famously stormed the Capitol was a day that we were recording, and I believe today, the 7th, is our anniversary of when we very first put out a podcast.
Wow. Happy anniversary.
Yeah, you too, Alex.
4 years.
Yep, 4 years. 4 years today.
It's been a long time, huh?
Yeah, it's been easy to remember.
Yeah, it sure has. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for being here, and welcome to the new year of Completely Arbortrary. We're very excited for it. We've got a lot of fun things happening. In fact, the other day, Casey and I went to a coffee shop and sat down and kind of schemed our year of episodes.
Yeah.
And we've got some really fun ideas. I want to spoil just one of them.
Ooh, okay, all right.
Which is Inside Sprout.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
A theme series based on Disney Pixar's Inside Out.
Yeah.
And it's going to be so fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's kind of the tonal opposite, but a cousin to Seven Deadly Stems.
Yeah, it kind of is.
It's like if Seven Deadly Stems had like a good upbringing with loving parents.
It's kind of like if Seven Deadly Stems had a complex personality that ran as a through line between them all.
It's going to be so great.
Yeah, it's going to be good. We got a lot of really cool things planned, and it's going to be. I think it's going to be a good year.
I think it's going to be our best year yet.
I agree. All the more reason to get on the support wagon That way you don't miss a single thing.
That's right. All right. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Completely Arbortrary. We will see you next time.
See ya.
Bye, everybody. Completely Arbortrary is produced by Alex Crowson and Casey Clapp. Our artwork is by Jillian Barthold, and our music is by Aves and the Mini Vandals. If you want to support this podcast and become a Treemium member, head over to arbitrarypod.supercast.com. Thanks for listening.